Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome to the Week in Strange episode 007. My name is Jason Roba, and I'm here with Thomas Sheridan. Sorry that Timony can't be here with us this evening. She's busy, but she sends you all her love, and she'll be back next Monday for episode 8 of the Week in Strange. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm very good and very excited, Jason, that we're doing this. It's a first for us, real groundbreaking. Thanks, everybody, for coming along. Celine and Luna, blessings to you and everyone. And let's have a lot of... I got an unvaccinated Elvis with me tonight. he will... I'd rap baby, I'll karate chop anybody. Anybody who comes near me with the Needlecraft. So we got a lot of support here tonight.
Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you all for tuning in on Facebook right now. Yes, hello, Holly from Virginia. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. Claire, Lindsay, Kimberly, Venice. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Please drop any questions or any problems that we have with the live stream in the Facebook chat, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with the first story. Timony usually is the presenter here. I hope that I can do as good of a job as her. I'm not nearly as good looking as her or as good of a reader as her, but let's give this a shot. So our first story, this is a critical Atlantic Ocean system is on the brink of collapse and will trigger extreme cold to Europe and parts of North America. Scientists are worried that the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, that's abbreviated AMOC, not AMORC, not the Rosicrucian order, but the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. This is a critical aquatic conveyor belt, sounds fancy, that drives currents in the Atlantic Ocean is at risk of near complete collapse. A shutdown of crucial circulation system could bring extreme cold to Europe and parts of North America, rise sea levels along the U.S. East Coast, and disrupt seasonal monsoons that provide water to much of the world. The effects, in short, would be devastating. The mere possibility that the AMOC tipping point is close should be enough for us to take countermeasures, warns Leifke Caesar, a climate physicist at Maynooth University. Now, this is a story from Strange Sounds. I know a few of you within the tribe follow this group. I like them because they typically don't do too much of the typical social engineering with man-made climate change. But I think this is definitely an interesting story with some of the things we've been talking about here recently, Thomas. Yeah,
is that Maynooth University in Ireland?
Oh, gosh, let me look. Scrolling through.
M-A-Y, Maynooth.
Maynooth.
Yeah, that's a big Jesuit shithole here. I wouldn't trust anything that they come out with, but that's like... I've been hearing they've been ramping up this stuff lately. Have you noticed that? Yeah. There was a big UN report last night. It was like the end of the world, and Greta Thunberg was wheeled out. I don't know how true this stuff is. There's two ways of looking at it, right? It's a bunch of grifters in academia whipping up the horror stories as much as possible, right, to try and get funding. That's what I bet that this prick is up to. The other side would be, it's true. Yeah, it could be really scary. And the other side of it could be that it's caused by something else other than their beloved climate change. And it's actually something we should worry about that's cosmic or something. Now, if the North Atlantic current or the Gulf Stream and all that stuff stopped or changed direction, we'd get very, very cold winters in this part of the world. Right now we get very mild winters, though we might get really good summers, so it'd probably be a trade-off. The thing is that our infrastructure is not designed for frost level, because the frost level is only something like 2 inches here, where like in Russia it's like 12 inches. So all our pipes are like not deep enough under the ground to get below the frost layer. But I've been hearing this one for years, for absolute years. And I'll take it with a pinch of salt. If it is true, I'm more inclined to believe that it's a cover story for something cosmic like a solar flare or something like that. Well, how would you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that there's rhetoric and rumors and shit going around for years about things like this. But yeah, I didn't know that this was a Jesuit order. And yeah, just my opinion, it always seems like they've got their fingers in things that are naturally occurring, but they like to take that and spin it in their own direction to push an agenda. So it's one of those things where there's something like 90% truth wrapped up in 10% of an agenda, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not man-made. And these cycles, as we've talked about, they probably happen all the time. And it could be something cosmic. Like you said, it could be a solar flare or CME-based thing. And it's just, we're going through the great season, the great cycle of weather. And, they talk about climate change. Well, motherfuckers, the climate's always changing. We don't live in a fixed universe or a fixed planet, despite what some of their models are, that they like to say that, since the age of reason, we've got everything figured out. And it's just, now it's only measuring things to the 6th decimal point, right? Let's see. Venice says the heat of heating the water at Fukushima is a culprit. Yeah, Fukushima. Gosh, that's a can of worms there. But yeah, thanks, Venice. There's all kinds of things going on. And, what wasn't Fukushima caused by like a big tsunami or something initially?
Yeah, tsunami caused by an earthquake under the sea. There's loads of amazing Fortean stuff about that. Like dead people, where the area that was destroyed is like full of ghosts. And taxi drivers don't go down there anymore because it's like people get in the back of the car all wet, wanting to go somewhere, and they look around to collect the fare and they're gone.
Met a few of them.
It's one of the most haunted places on earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots of spooky stuff around that area.
Absolutely. Speaking of spooky stuff, it was really fun. Timony, her brother Josh, and I, we went down to Los Angeles this last week to do some filming for you all for an upcoming Beyond Room 313 film and talk about haunted stuff. We'll be getting a trailer out to you all soon to get a little taste of what we're looking at there. But yeah, that's got to be super creepy there in Fukushima. Again, something like a portal probably. And,
well, it was happened so quickly, and you think, it's very strange. And I was thinking about it a lot. Was there kind of an alchemical magic happened when the nuclear fire met the ocean, met the salt, met the sea? It was like, did it fracture reality more than as much as being an ecological catastrophe? Because you ever hear about the Mothman stories all around Chernobyl?
No.
There was all during the Chernobyl initial thing. There was Mothman sightings. So it's like these things affect, and then you have like the nuclear power plant at 3 Mile Island, Indian Point in the Hudson Valley being a major UFO hotspot.
Yes.
So there's a can of worms there between kind of Forteana and atomic power plants and atomic energy.
Reminds me too of and David Lynch's what's the show? Somebody help me out in the show that he's known for, Twin Peaks in The Return in season 3. They do something about that with a portal with I want to say it was with the nuclear test sites in the southwest of the U.S. and that opening somehow causing a fracture in time and space when they detonated those nuclear tests back in the 40s and bringing through some kind of, I think it was a fire golem is what he was alluding to. That's my interpretation of it, that there's a fire golem because there's this homeless guy looking thing like we were talking about with Marnie the other day. It's a creepy guy, and the way that they do the sound design on his voice, he comes around and says, got a light, and it's this like real electronic distorted voice. So this fire golem comes out from the nuclear tests. And yeah, I mean, radioactivity, magnetism, and some of these natural and man-made disasters seem like they can, rip a hole in the fabric of reality so that things can either go, one way or the other. We're talking about Parsons and Hubbard, tearing open the fabric of reality, things coming through. And then the same thing we talked about with Amanda Miriam Radcliffe that day about, when someone tears open a hole in the fabric of reality, something comes back to patch that hole over. So it's like, with all these UFO sightings and things you're talking about, it's like, it's cool stuff to keep track of on a Fortean census you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Oppenheimer quoted the Bhagavad Gita when the first atomic bomb exploded in the U.S. the Manhattan Project, brighter than 1,000 suns, and I am the destroyer of worlds. It was just fantastic. There's a fantastic story to be told there. Another reason I have an issue with Maynooth University is that they're the big archaeology university here, and they're the main gatekeepers for official history. So they don't believe that they don't believe that there was anything of any note before the arrival of Christianity, and a lot of that kind of stuff goes on. And they have some very notorious academics in there who were like stringent, fanatical gatekeepers over the years. That's like my main beef with them. It's a beautiful university, gorgeous campus and everything, but fuck them,
I'll keep that in mind when we're looking for stories for
yeah, right.
Yeah, Elvis doesn't like him either. Let's see. Venice, definitely the sun is a concern as well. Let's see, Kimberly. She says, I wonder if my grandfather saw anything unusual when he played in nuclear fallout in an experiment conducted after World War II. Yeah, I know. I've heard stories from my dad too about the troops that they exposed to.
There's videos of it.
Yeah.
And you see them running. They had like gas masks on them, and they told them to look away when the blast happened, and then they ran in. It was like really weird.
Yeah. It's just like, they're the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, just to kind of see, well, what happens. Yeah.
You've no human rights when you join the military. They can do what they want with you.
Yep. Yeah. Well, speaking of the sun and scary shit, this is the next story. This is also off of strangesounds.org. This is Electrical World. 34% rise in lightning strikes in 2020 to 2021, leaving 1,697 dead in India. The number of frequency in lightning strikes is increasing globally. The proverbial bolts from the blue are killing more people every subsequent year. But why? Between April 2020 and March 2021, 18.5 million lightning strikes were recorded in India. This was a 34% increase from 13.8 million strikes between April 2019 and March 2020. These statistics were shared at a webinar on lightning strikes here today. I'm not sure where here is, but it says lightning strikes here today, which attempted to understand why lightning strikes were surging and their connection to growing urbanization. Okay. The most badly hit states are Punjab, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Puducherry, Himachal Pradesh, and West Bengal. And my God, I'm sorry I mispronounced some of those. I wasn't expecting to read that. But yeah, so these lightning strikes are off the charts, and it seems like something that's been happening all over the place. We got an email from someone recently who talked about the thunder snow. Whoever that was, thank you for sending us that email. But there's something about there's a huge snowstorm, and there's this weird kind of lightning, kind of like a ball lightning in the snow. We were going to do that as our fifth story last week, but we didn't have time for it. But it just seems like, again, all this weird weather and everything going. But yeah, Thomas, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, that's a weird one. Now, this is definitely a very interesting one because it kind of falls outside the domain, the climate nonsense. This is, obviously the atmosphere is highly charged electrically now. Where is this coming from? Is it coming from the sun? Is it coming from space? What's creating these forces? Is Thor and Duna? Well, actually, in India, it's Indra. It's Indra. I often wonder, and that the Indus Valley is named after him. I often wonder if they've done some kind of thing like dam the river or something, and he's angry at them. But this is the lightning bolt on the tower is associated with the destruction of what should be destroyed and what should be to allow the new things to come in. So, you can read this in lots of ways. Is there a cosmic thing happening in outer space that's causing the atmosphere to charge up? Is there something to do with an archetypal link to consciousness that's happening that maybe they could be, instead of UFOs? I mean, we do know that human consciousness, from cloud busting and stuff can affect the weather. There's no doubt about that. And this is very interesting stuff. I mean, this is a great one. These are the kind of stories I'm really fascinated by. One we have to watch because the Earth's atmosphere does not become super electrically charged in a very short time for no reason. And I've even noticed that thunder and lightning is very rare in Ireland, and I've noticed in the last few years that I've heard it a lot more. So it's definitely there's something funny going on. Also, haven't they been having haven't they been having strikes up in the Arctic, I believe? They're now recording the highest elevation, highest latitudinal lightning storms ever have been recorded recently, with lightning strikes well deep into the Arctic Circle, unprecedented and unheard of before.
Yeah, and hasn't there been something too? There's videos of lightning that's discharging from the surface. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a massive, the Earth is like a massive. See, this is again, we're back to the Rona and stuff like that. Is that a cover story for some other weird thing that's gone down?
Yeah. And I mean, who knows how that and the Needlecraft affect each other with, allegedly there's this some kind of compound in the
graphite or something,
something, and it's just
and the magnet thing sticking to the arm, which is true, by the way. I know you have to do it right after you've been injected, but I know a few people have done it and said, "Yep, well, you can stick your phone and you can stick your mobile phone onto it and everything."
It'd be crazy to go around. We've got that little RF meter with the Gauss meter, and I have to find someone who just got their Needlecraft and walk up to them and go, "Oh shit, what?"
I saw a video guide. If you don't know stud finders, they have to find the behind the plasterboard, behind what you call it, sheetrock in America. Mm-hmm. The guy was actually the stud finder was finding the thing in his arm where he's ejected.
That's good, yeah. Kimberly says, "Yeah, we've had thunder snow in Virginia several times," and then Claire. Is it the heat of the psychic weather? Well, we'll be getting to that in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I would say the two things, we can't have one without the other. What is that called? Supervenient or something, where all of the
entanglement.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this lightning thing, like you said, archetypal. It's just and the fact that it is in India that they're reporting this, with the archetypes kind of originating in that part of the planet, moving their way across and. But here we've in the Pacific Northwest, we usually start getting our thunderstorms kind of in the transition into fall and winter. But we've been getting little tiny storm bands that have been developing, and it's only the beginning of August here now. There's right when we came back from LA, there's a little storm band that passed through here. But yeah, I imagine we're going to be in for a pretty heavy thunderstorm season here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'll definitely have my camera ready in case we get any kind of crazy lightning. I love all that lightning when I was stationed.
Oh yeah. That's one of the reasons I go on holiday is to experience lightning, because we don't get it here. I think the last time I was in Malta a couple of years ago, there was some fantastic lightning that was there over Valletta. Again, it was just beautiful. I love the lightning and the thunder.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so moving on from this one, our next story is massive DNA Borg, quote unquote, structures assimilate genes like the Star Trek Borg aliens who assimilate knowledge and other technology of other species. The Borg have landed, or at least researchers have discovered their counterparts here on Earth. Scientists analyzing samples from muddy sites in the western United States have found model DNA structures that seem to scavenge and quote unquote assimilate genes from microorganisms in their environment, much like the fictional Star Trek Borg aliens who assimilate the knowledge and technology of other species. These extra long DNA strands, which the scientists named in honor of the aliens, join a diverse collection of genetic structures, circular plasmids, for example, known as extrachromosomal elements, ECEs. Most microbes have one or two chromosomes that encode their primary genetic blueprint, but they can host and often share between them many distinct ECEs. These carry on non-essential but useful genes, such as those for antibiotic resistance. Borgs are previously unknown, unique, and quote-unquote absolutely fascinating type of ECE, says Jill Banfield, a geomicrobial biologist at the University of California, Berkeley. She and her colleagues described their discovery of the structures in a preprint posted to the server, and that gives a little URL for that. So yeah, this is kind of creepy, especially as we've been talking about gain of function stuff with the Rona and the bioweapon and all of that, and all the creepy shit that the biotech people are doing here on the west coast of the U.S. Like they're playing with things that I don't think, in my opinion, people shouldn't be playing with when you're manipulating life itself on the genetic level, there's consequences to that.
Yeah, and the laissez-faire nature of it is what really bothers me. If you go back like 200 years and say when galvanism was discovered and putting electric currents to dead animals and people, and they used to make corpses kick their legs and stuff like that. There was enormous debates about the ethical nature of that back then, and they weren't always religious. In countries like France, where basically religion had been abolished at that time, they were very much an atheist society. There was very deep misgivings about the ethical nature of actually doing this, and then that was just electrical currents being simply passed through the human body to reanimate them. They were, with the hope that they could bring people back from the dead. And in many ways, they were correct, because when you have the EEG, when someone has a heart attack and they restart with electricity. Yeah. So I mean, something good did come out of that, and it did kind of work, and it was a kind of necromancy in a funny kind of roundabout way. But I don't like the laissez-faire nature of this. I don't like these people who have no accountability being involved in this. I don't want a bunch of nerds messing with this stuff. I just don't like it at all. Where are the bioethics committees in the US government? And I'm sure there's plenty. I'm sure there is one. Actually, there is one. This is the thing. We hear so much about, the ethical nature of using like aborted fetuses, say the development of pharmacology, right? And all kinds of things like that. But this to me is just as bad, because we don't have the emotional sort of like resonance that you get when you think of a baby, right? You don't get that when you think of them messing at the genetic level. But the basic genetic level, it's more terrifying. It definitely should be greater controls on this. But these people in these biotech type, dictators have phenomenal power on this planet right now. And it's it's like, that song, I owe my stole to the company's store. That song. It was an old American folk song about like how if you work in a mining town, they owned everything. 16 tons, and what do you get? They older and deeper in debt. That's what it's about. They had no life. Well, they now have that on a global level with these biotech companies. And we're basically all living in a company town called biotech.
God, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned, Holly, you mentioned you're sure that the mad scientists are already slicing and dicing, crisping these gene codes already. Yeah, and that CRISPR, I've met people that casually talk about, I worked with CRISPR, and they talk about it as casual as, Microsoft Paint or something, like CRISPR, as if it's just like, oh yeah, no big deal, just messing with genes. And it's just like, I don't get how someone can just so casually, talk about working with messing with genes, because it's just, even when you're working on an occult level, it's like there's such a reverence and respect for what it is that you're working with. When you're working with the fabric of reality around you, you talk about the magic circle, and part of that's like there's a reverence for and a respect for the world around you that has to be there before you start working and changing things in conformity with will. And it's like with this, it's like these mad scientists and nerds, tech nerds, they're not in the magic circle. They're just fucking around with this as if it's, as if they're playing an RPG or something. And it's just like, making chimeras and stuff, like the same way they'd be playing, Monster Rancher or whatever the new version is.
Or making Lego kits.
Yeah. Making avatars for their gaming. And it's just like, no, man, you're changing the fabric of reality here. Like life forms, whether you're changing, the genetic makeup of a snow pea or something, for genetically modified crops, or you're genetically altering, stuff with human DNA for the various inoculations that are given out to people. I'm trying not to say any words that will get us kicked off Facebook. But whether you're working on that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, you've got to be in the magic circle. You've got to have a certain amount of respect for life, and the fact that you're messing with the building blocks of reality. DNA, they talk about, junk DNA, but it's like, no, it might be junk to their standards, but it's like, it's the same thing with like the snakes that have little vestigial legs, and stuff within them, so that if something occurs, those little vestigial legs could come out and become limbs again if they need it. And it's like, that's in that junk DNA, I'm sure. Like if whatever happened and the terrain changed and those little tiny legs needed to become, claws and stuff, that junk DNA will go over a couple, I don't know, probably would happen pretty instantly. There's that connection there, the collective unconsciousness of a species, of a group, of an entire biosphere of all life. Like, we're talking about Fukushima earlier, and I often wonder, so say there was some big nuclear disaster, people would say, oh, everything's fucked. No, I really do think that, initially there'll be a big die-off, but in that junk DNA, just like with the snake's vestigial limbs, we probably have stuff, all of us, all the, the plants, the flora, the fauna, the minerals within their DNA probably have some kind of sequencing within there that can adapt to the environment, just like, Darwin's finches with, being able to adapt to eat the food where they are. I would imagine if suddenly the gravity, became harder on the planet or lighter, bone structures over, a generation or two or even less would just adapt. And there'd be big die-offs and it'd be tragic, but life finds a way, Ian Malcolm, from Jurassic Park. But no, for real, life does find a way. And that's why I don't like all this fatalistic stuff that so many of these nerds and the tech people, they're all like, they bitch people out for being religious and dogmatic, but they're like the most religious, dogmatic, fatalistic, Like you have it in evolutionary science, you have punctuated equilibrium, which basically says that the species came out of nowhere. Yeah. There was no predecessor, which I find very kind of contradictory to their beliefs. But flowers, for example, all just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The flower, there's no flowers in the evolutionary record, and suddenly there's millions and millions of all different species of flowers. So they call it, well, that's punctuated equilibrium. That they just all happen at once. I mean, to me that's nonsense. But they obviously did all happen at once. Whether you have something like, I'd be more inclined to go along with Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance, where these things are already encoded and they appear. Now, the thing with messing with the genes, there's also the concept or the possibility of epigenetics being an issue here, which is, genetic changes that the causality is neither hereditary or environmental. It can be caused by trauma and all kinds of other things. And that's why you have to be careful, ladies, who you make the sweet love with, because that DNA is in your brain forever. And that's not a joke. That's really serious. And the what's I going to say now? The epigenetics of somebody working on these gene splicing and gene messing around projects, say whatever psychic state he's in, and he's working on a project, is he going to create a Frankenstein monster based out of his own neurotic neurology? There's just it's a field they don't know a lot about. The whole genome project was supposed to be the end of everything. They were going to develop a whole new range of medicines and treatments, and because everything was supposed to be in your genes. And all these biotech companies have invested colossal sums of money into the genome project, and it was a gigantic failure because what they discovered was we're not actually in our genes. So and here they are messing with that stuff. They don't even fully understand it. Right. But at the same time with that, it's like, but the genes can mess back with you. It's like they're fucking around with these things. And it's like, I would imagine this is probably what it was like when they talk about the fall of Atlantis with magic and everything getting out of control. And it's like, when these, in my opinion, these are the dark arts, when you're talking about these Crispr folks and stuff. And,
John Foster Forbes, he wrote, the more I read about the man, the more I believe him that he did. There was an ancient race of dark druids who messed with something and they destroyed reality. And it took centuries to get reality stabilized again. So, it's in Sorcery, the book behind you. Yep. So when you get to that, you read that, but it's like, that's his theories, I think, are, when I first read them, I said, that's great science fiction. But the more I see, like we were just reading that story right then, the more I can see it's probably could be fact.
Yeah. And yeah, if you haven't bought it already, please everyone buy Thomas's book, Sorcery, The Invocation of Strangeness. One of the best books that you're going to read as a primer for the occult. Please help him out. Don't help him out. Just buy the book because it's great. But
Yeah, man.
but no, Thomas, I was saying we should make a film about that. You know, the Dark Druids and this kind of thing. That would,
John Foster Forbes is definitely someone who needs attention. I'm probably the world's #1 expert on him. And I've even got letters from his family members where their minds were blown when they found on the website the article I wrote on him because they thought he'd been completely forgotten. But he was sort of like, I don't know, he was like a special man that was forgotten by history but shouldn't be. And it all happened because Francis Presley, who we had on one of the Beyond Room 313 symposiums, somehow Francis gets these amazing things. I don't know where he finds them, but he found like the book, one of his books, I forget what it's called, Forbes books, was like 100 copies made or something. And Francis had one of them and he gave it to me, you know, like it was like, and that was like I just read this book and it just started this incredible chain of events into finding out what was the story with this man, you know?
Yeah. Holly asked, where's the best place to buy your book, Thomas?
That one, Lulu, because I get the best cut from them. Or Book Depository. Well, Lulu's not. Amazon, not so much.
That's LULU, right?
Yeah, .com.
Lulu.com.
I lost your sound, Jason. No, you're gone. It's after you typed in, your sound vanished.
Check.
Yeah, you're back.
I know what it is. There's a keyboard shortcut. The M does mute, so I typed .com. So all right, I got to remember that. I was just going to say, one last thing. It's like these dark forces and everything, but we were talking about corrections and things being done on a cosmic or archetypal level. It's just like, we're at that fall of Atlantis again, where this overly left-brained approach to life is getting out of control, and naturally there is a something coming to balance that out, I think. And here we are talking about the other side of it. I don't want to say but we're there's the other side of it that is being addressed here, and who knows, maybe something will occur where it makes it impossible for these softwares to be able to be used anymore.
We wait and see.
So I was going to break for the Week in Strange here, but Psychic Weather Report. But while we're still on this, before we do that one, this is another thing on the topic of necromancy that I think while we're still going on this. So this was one we were going to do last week, but we didn't have time for. This is from Insider. A man used AI to bring back his deceased fiancée, but the creators of the tech warn it could be dangerous and used to spread misinformation. After Joshua Barbier's fiancée passed away, he spoke to her for months. Or rather, he spoke to a chatbot programmed to sound exactly like her. In a story for the San Francisco Chronicle, Barbier detailed how Project December, a software that uses artificial intelligence technology to create hyper-realistic chatbots, recreated the experience of speaking with his late fiancée. Man, that's just fucked up.
It's sad, but it's uber fucking creepy.
Yeah. So all he had to do was plug in old messages and give some background information, and suddenly the model could emulate his partner with stunning accuracy. Man, makes you wonder how much he really knew her. It may sound like a miracle or a Black Mirror episode, but the AI creators warned that the same technology could be used to fuel mass information campaigns. You can see where they're going with this.
Yeah.
Project December is powered by GPT-3, an AI model designed by Elon Musk-backed research company OpenAI. By consuming massive data sets of human-created text, and in quotes here, we've got Reddit threads were particularly helpful, GPT-3 can imitate human writing, produce everything from academic papers to letters from former lovers. It is some of the most sophisticated and dangerous language-based AI programming to date. When OpenAI released GPT-2, the predecessor to GPT-3, the group wrote that it could be used in malicious ways. The organization anticipated that bad actors using the technology could automate quote unquote abusive or faked content on social media, generate misleading news articles, or impersonate others online. GPT-2 could be used to unlock new, as yet unanticipated capabilities for these actors, the group wrote. OpenAI staggering the release of GPT-2, and it still restricts access to the superior GPT-3 in order to give people time to learn the societal implications of such technology. Yep.
Why? There's got to be something wrong with someone. Well, a few months ago on Instagram, people were animating their dead relatives. Did you see that stuff? And it was creepy as fuck. And this is my aunt. She died in 1945, and it was pure Quran's. It was pure C33 stuff, and it was profoundly disturbing. This is demonic. This is this is demonic. This is demonology we're involved with. The psychological implications are extremely bad enough alone. The association that it creates eventually creates this dissociation between. There is no dissociation between the virtual person and the real person who existed. Yep. So that automatically is destructive for mental health. Added to that, the imposter thing, absolutely, it's a huge problem. I mean, they're also going to use this as probably the reason why I'll have to have an internet driver's license, because it's the only way you can. And I know something, if it ensures deep fakes and being out of the game, then I wouldn't have a problem with that, because they've created a problem that only another problem will solve when it comes to that. But this it's so unhealthy and so demonic on so many levels. This is like the Picatrix when they got the head and they put it in a jar of vinegar and they brought it back to life to talk. This is that. This is dark sorcery, but using, instead of a decapitated head in a jar of vinegar, it's a reconstructed digital version of a real human being. I was talking to some people who saw the Ronnie James Dio show after he died, and he had it was a live band on stage, and in the center of the stage is a kind of like a box that projected a 3D image of Ronnie James Dio singing, and they said technologically it was mind blowing. It was the creepiest night out they'd ever had. They just didn't want anything to do with it afterwards, and they flopped. But in Japan, they've already got, virtual pop stars.
Yep.
And the technology with 10 years ago was already very impressive. Like a manga stars dancing around the stage, and you couldn't tell that wasn't there. And on the last U2 tour, they had this amazing screen where sort of like gigantic 3D renderings of Bono and stuff, and other scenes appeared in the middle of this auditorium. So this stuff is Project Bluebeam, bring it on. Here we all are, and
The thing that I see with this, and I think I had posted this one about a week or two ago or so on my personal page, or maybe it was in the group. But what I see with this is, ever since the lockdowns began, to me, it almost seems like the whole point behind the Rona restrictions and everything we are going through and will go through probably until the 2030s is this push to make sure that all of us flesh and blood human beings do not interact with each other, and our only interactions are here on the digital domain. And there's that stupid chatbot AI thing where they use that fucking meme of the guy with his girlfriend looking back at the other girl's ass, and it shows, my real girlfriend, me, and then my chatbot, whatever it is that he's looking at. I'm like, oh, hell no. No, it's just this whole idea that you can reduce human interaction down, or you can reduce it all down to linguistic trends, and then substitute the real thing for something like this, where they take this poor dude's dead fiance's lexicon of words that she uses and just spits that back out at him. And it's the same thing. It's like, oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear Thomas? Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, yeah.
Okay. Someone was saying they can't hear me. but just this idea that reducing someone down to just their language. So it's just like, the idea of what it is to be human is being reduced down. And I think that might be what's behind all of the Rona restrictions and stuff, is that they're trying to get us so that we don't go and meet new people anymore. We don't go out and hug each other and, actually make children outside of the test tube things. It's like they have us go around like this, where it's like, yes, you can be very expressive with your eyes, but like there's the subtle details that, these muscles just around your mouth, you can't see those with a mask on. And same thing, they don't want people shaking hands. They do that stupid ass elbow thing. And it's just like all of the human, the things that make us interact together as humans, they're taking those away and replacing them with this Elon Musk's GPT-3 AI, which it sounds like they've got, the previous iterations of it, which I think are probably what's behind a lot of these weird ass digital golems that we've interacted with. I've interacted with a number of them this week in the Beyond Room 313 Facebook group. And it's just like, it's the ones you can tell that the count's 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years old, but it has no interactions with other profiles. And you look and you can find like, it's like there's a real ish looking human face in some of the pictures, but it looks like one of those, composite things that they use for making, and it's just, their language is perfect to an archetype though. It's like they're on a script. And it's like one was making some comments yesterday in the group that was like, it's like they took all of our chat thread stuff and tried to make a golem out of it and repeat back everything we said. And I'm just like, nope, blocked.
Well, you see, that's his downfall. That the fuckers behind this, that are behind all this, don't have souls. They're just meat golems, right?
Yeah.
Educated meat golems. Whereas immediately apparent to anyone with a soul, you have the uncanny valley thing kicks in. Oh, I don't want to be part of this. And that's why these bastards will fail. They'll fail.
Yeah.
They don't have a soul. They can't create a person because they don't have a soul. And what's a human being without a soul? Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I turned up my microphone gain a little bit. They were having trouble hearing me because I wasn't loud enough. But yeah, these wannabe necromancers, there's something terribly wrong with all of this. But I think this transitions nicely into this week's psychic weather report.
Is it bad? Is it great? Are you happy? Are you irate? The week in psychic weather.
Okay. Well, this is the kind of week in psychic weather I've been kind of hoping for a while. We may have we do have a very an anomaly in the collective unconscious that's manifesting right now. About a month ago, someone told me they had a dream, and in the dream there was a little boy, and the little boy was asking him to go somewhere with them. And last weekend, I was talking to one of my friends. It was 2 weeks ago here in Sligo, and her and her mother both had a dream about a little boy who either needs help or asked them to go somewhere. Now, I have two friends in Italy who are very serious somnauts. They note everything in their dreams. They've been having dreams about this same little boy. He's basically between 3 and 5 years old. He either requires assistance or he wants to take you somewhere. He speaks very good language in the country, like the one in Italy speaks Italian very well. So it doesn't talk like a little boy. It has a very well developed vocabulary. And it seems to be appearing in people's dreams. If this has been happening to you, light up the comments here or light up the comments in YouTube. But this could be very significant, I think. The way the child is described, it's almost like a Caspar Hauser, Steiner type thing, the new child of Europe. There's also, the crowned and conquered child of the new Aeon in Thelema, representing the beginning of a new Aeon, the childhood innocence coupled with the experience of past lives. So this is fascinating stuff. So the week in psychic weather is short but powerful this week. People are dreaming about a little boy who either asks for help or requires them to do something or go somewhere with them. He's no more than 5 years old. He's very well presented and very well spoken. And if you're having a dream of this little boy, tell us about it and what do you think it means? And I think this is a biggie, because I don't know if you remember at VON about 6 years ago, I ran a dream experiment that was so powerful I had to stop it because I was getting worried. I was starting to think that we were manifesting these things. And the one of them was it would tell me what they were dreaming every week. And one was a very clear signal one week about a fire in China. And that was the one that the docks in China exploded. Do you remember when that happened? Tianjin, I think the name of the place was. And then a few weeks later, people were saying Paris Cultural Center. And that was right before the horrific Bataclan terrorist attack in the city. And that's what made me stop, because I was getting spooked out by it. So you all know how much emphasis and importance I place upon dream and dream oracles and so on. So this has to be significant. I now know 5 people who are dreaming of this little boy, and that's only, I've asked around about 20. So that's quite a huge percentage to be dreaming about a little boy. And so if you're dreaming about this little boy, or he comes into your dreams, let me know. And that is the very important and very powerful week in psychic weather.
Is it bad? Is it great? Are you happy? Are you irate? The week in psychic weather.
Man, that's crazy. I remember we talked about Mechanic Falls here recently. I don't know if anything's happened.
Oh, yeah.
But still. So I still have my mind on that, just as a little, putting that out there again for everyone. But yeah, that's crazy though about the dreams. I've been having really intense dreams lately too, but nothing about little boys. Nothing like no messengers.
Yeah, a single little boy, very well spoken, and nothing weird about or creepy. He's just very, his personality and his character is very strong, apparently.
Yeah. Philip Stacy says, what color or clothes does the boy wear? Do you know, Thomas?
I don't know, but I think he had brown hair and kind of an innocent cherubic face.
Okay.
But he appears in different ages, apparently, to people, but no more older than 5 and no younger than 3. But he could be the same age, just as, because you could look at a 3-year-old or 5-year-old, it's hard to guess what age they are, They could be 3 or 5,
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that one. I think that one's going to be quite significant.
Absolutely. Okay. So for our final story this evening, this is kind of taking us a loop back to where we were at the beginning of the hour. China floods, Brazil freezes, U.S. dry, top exporters lose crops as grains crisis accelerates. This is an article from July 31st, 2021. This is also from Strange Sounds. While Brazil gets hit repeatedly by unusually low temperatures, destroying crops, the extraordinary flooding in China's Henan province has damaged wheat, infrastructure, and thousands of large hog farms. Just keep in mind, this region of China accounts for 10% of their grains production. Now, all hopes are on U.S., but the country has its own issues, facing unprecedented drought and wildfire conditions. This signals a huge red flag for worldwide food production, as these are the number 1, 2, and 3 producers, exporters of many grains. In fact, Brazil has started importing. Now explore what this means in the episode. Okay, blah, blah, blah. That's something else we don't need to look into. So, yeah, I know they've been talking about the whole food shortage thing. And again, like the first story, is this manufactured? Yeah.
I'd say so. And, remember, it's grain and people say, that's okay, I'll do it without cereal. But the thing is that it's not, that's often used to feed cattle and livestock, chickens and everything. So, I mean, that's a gigantic knockoff effect through the whole, agri-industry globally. We've been hearing for years about the rainforest would all be gone by now. Remember that, Sting was down there, and every day, an area the size of Wales they chop down, so there'll be no rainforest left by 2000. Well, the rainforest is so dense and thick. There's only Graham Hancock was only on the radio the other day talking about it's so vast and so unexplored. We haven't got a clue what's down there. There's so much for that vanishing. So they're always lying. The fuckers are always telling us lies. Always. Like the polar bear on a melting iceberg is if polar bears can't swim. And you're supposed to be like, oh, so, poor polar bear that drowned, and yet they forget that when they went to the zoo, the polar bear pen has a fucking pool in it for swimming. But, it's like, this is bullshit. It's totally. And again, it's a leverage thing too, It's the Chinese could be saying, these could be hints, the Chinese saying things like clay ball and suddenly our ecological crisis will end and we'll have the grain. But there's no reason why the United States should be, and look at Canada, there's no reason why those two countries should be worried about this with the amount of cereal production they alone produce. So this is a scare story. Yeah, there could be something, maybe the Brazil thing is no way in any way related to the China thing. But again, I don't trust these kinds of stories. I don't trust them because they're all written with an editorial and they're all based around, Greta Thunberg's, whatever, latest bullshit,
Right. There's a tremendous amount of social engineering behind them that does affect a change within people. And that's a scary thing. Like I imagine there's going to be food runs this fall as soon as just like the toilet paper runs at the beginning of the Rona lockdowns. But yeah, it's just like, it's the thing you're talking about, the polar bear thing. It reminded me too of here in the US, especially the West Coast, when there was that little video clip of the tortoise that had a barnacle in its nostril, that some guy was pulling the barnacle out with a pair of vice grips. And it was like people lost their fucking minds. And we're like, oh my God, we got to ban straws. And now suddenly here on the West Coast, it's like, we've got all these little dissolvable paper straws and shit that like you put it in your drink, when you've got one of those to-go things and the thing dissolves by the time like you haven't even finished your meal yet. And it's just like, yeah, good thing we got rid of plastic straws, but now all these damn masks in the gutter and out and hanging from trees and shit. But it's just that little thing that's like they pull on just the right heartstring, and it causes a weird Pavlovian type of conditioning within people. So it's just like with this, and I also see this thing about the bug diet that they're pushing with all of the types of people here in the Northwest. Like there's the big Soylent thing that was about 2015 to 2017 here in the Pacific Northwest, where every motherfucker who worked in tech was drinking this bullshit meal in a box thing that wasn't organic. It wasn't any of that, but it was like a meal replacement thing of every single nutrient you ever need is in this drink. And, when I'm working too long, I can just drink one of these, because I don't need to take lunch breaks. I just drink my Soylent. There's soy based, obviously. And I'm sure that all the men that drank that, their testicles fell off. But that was like right before, that was at the pinnacle right before things came over with the Capitol Hill stuff. It was just like, replacing meals with this soy drink where, if you're too busy working, because all these tech people, they get up at before dawn and they work till after the sun goes down, and they're just like these machines. And I'm sorry if any of you here work in tech, not all of you are that way, but the good majority are. But with all of this, it's just like the bug thing. That's what I was going to, is that I don't know if you guys have seen those video clips about people eating with chopsticks, these I don't know what they are, like crickets or something, like feeder crickets that you feed to your pet reptiles and stuff. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Greta Thunberg's going to be, feeding us all fucking grasshoppers and shit here going into the 2030s. And I think there's a push to get away from people eating food that's nutritious for them. They've made it very unfashionable to eat red meat.
Bring on the wild hunt. Yeah. Bring on Votan. We're waiting. Come down with your you and Slipnir charge down to the north and hack these fuckers down. We are ready. We are so out. We're out of the way. They're out on the roads. Go get them. I've had enough. I've absolutely had enough, and I hear this kind of crap. It's like, I didn't even know about the little Soylent drink. That's like, what my little spaceman food, my little protein cake, fucking hell, Jesus Christ. That, I'm liking the Jetsons, dickhead. You know, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, it's like unbelievable. I mean, I know it's not supposed to be a political show, but no, it won't be. Vote and
let's go there.
We are ready. We are ready. Please hurry up.
Yeah. I mean, let's go there. I mean, yeah, we're on Facebook.
Come on, Callie. Come on, Callie.
Yeah. Timothy and I got a great picture in front of a nice Callie statue in Seattle last week. Love to send that one to you. But yeah, the asexual tech nerds, Kimberly says, absolutely. Oh my God, the asexuality around here is crazy. It's kind of weird too. Like the most beautiful women that you see here, beautiful women you'll see here, the most gorgeous NPCs you'll see in the Seattle area, they all are rainbow flag wearing, color hair stuff. It's like, it's so weird that like there's just been this thing, especially in our generation and younger. I'm 35, and the people around my age and younger, it's just like, well, yeah, the herd's being culled, but those of us men who didn't drink the Soylent, we're going to be the ones that are going to be able to reproduce. You know, you were talking about the sweet love earlier, and you know, the people out there who are making the sweet love with the people who've gotten the double Needlecraft. I don't know.
That's a serious worry, that one. Yeah, I know. I mean, especially at the childbearing age, you know, it's okay if they're after those years, but I mean, I worry about those girls who want to start a family one day and they've now been double needlecrafted, you know?
Yeah, or their man's been double needlecrafted and, you know, he's drinking all the soy. So, yeah. But hey, the rest of us here, we're real men.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, you know, they're going to start like, one day they'll be like harvesting us or something for body parts, you know?
Oh, man. Thomas, I think I told you about this dream about a year or so ago. It must have been like around 2018 when my dad was in the hospital. I had this dream. I was here in Seattle and there's this line of people lined up, like a column of people, the way like you would have like a stage, and on the stage it was raised up, and there was these like white, I want to say there's 3 white cylinders, and there was this big LCD screen there, or a projector screen. No, it was LCD, it was backlit. And they had these people who were being walked up with their hands tied behind their back and hoods over their head. And they were like these political dissident types, and they were being marched up there. And it was like they were being punished for their political crimes, but their consciousness was going to be uploaded into this computer, and they put their bodies into this like they laid them down in these tube looking things, kind of like you know, in the Matrix, how they're in those pods. They put them into these pods, and then I think what they did is liquefy the body, and then you see on the screen like there's this like happy little face going up, and it's like, okay, Jimmy's been uploaded into the cloud now, and it's like, he, you know, environmentally friendly, what's, you know, it's like the Holocaust, but with water is kind of what the dream was. It's like the last one was done through the element of fire. This one is going to be done through the element of water, but green. So anyway, that was a dream I had a few years ago. And it just kind of reminded me of that, because they were dissolving these people, but uploading, you know, just like the AI thing we talked about, uploading their consciousness, quote unquote, into the, you know, the motherboard land, like you were talking about. But yeah, that's a weird ass dream I had a few years ago.
Yeah, that'll be normal to these. They don't last. They're unsustainable humans. Everything about them has no sustainability. They love the word sustainability, but nothing about them is sustainable. Everything is completely artificial. Everything, and all you need is one disruption in the world, and they're no more. Yeah, they're no more. I mean, like if the worst came to worst and the Earth did tilt over 90 degrees and it was a free-for-all, those guys wouldn't have a chance. They'd be on the barbecue in a week and someone would be cooking them up. You know, that's literally what will happen.
Yeah.
They'll be food, you know. It'll be like that movie, The Road, but it won't be half as, it'll be just, they'll be easy to catch.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I watched I Am Legend for the first time there. I thought it was quite a good film. I don't really care much for Will Smith. I think he overacts and stuff like that. He's obviously like, you know, a chosen one. But the film I thought was quite a good take on the Doomsday Man kind of story. But yeah, I mean, if it happened, it would be like that. But you wouldn't need mutations. They'd be so weak in a fight against, I mean, like tough kids from the ghetto and stuff like that. They would become gods, literally. You know, they would become gods in no time. They could walk into the suburbs and take what they wanted. you know. So it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like that song by what was it called? If you go against nature, that's going against nature too. It's true. They're not going to beat that. They're not going to beat Gaia. They're not going to defeat the natural forces. The archetypes are beyond their form and function. They're not sustainable. They don't come from nature. They don't derive from nature, and they have no place in nature. And does not. They're a vacuum. And what do we know about nature and vacuums? It doesn't tolerate a vacuum.
Right. Well, I think it's a beautiful place to end this week. Episode 007 of The Week in Strange with me, Jason Roba, and Thomas Sheridan. We're really looking forward to having Timony back next week. Thank you for coming by to say hi, Timony. Hi, Mom. Thank you for making a comment. And we'll be back again with you next Monday. Thank you all.